So we have a test coming up. Right now, I'm going to review some of the different types of questions that we are going to find on the exam. So here, question one, I guarantee you this is going to be on the exam. You are going to see something like this. So the first thing that I want you to do is we notice that this is in standard form and we need to convert to vertex form. We need to know that vertex form is our a times x minus h squared plus k. So when I look here, I'm looking at my answer choices. They give us two vertex forms that we can choose from, and then we have minimum and maximum values. So step one, I am going to look here, and I see my a is a -2. If a is negative, we have a frowny face. This is stuff that we should know. So that point at the top is going to be my max. This point at the top is also called a vertex too. So we know the answer is not C and it's not D because we do not have a maximum or minimum. So after step one is look at our A. Step two, we are going to go from vertex to standard. No, from standard to vertex form. And we have our formula -b divided by 2 times A. That -b, when you see -b, I want you to think -1 times a b value. So here, my b value is 20. So -b, so that's -1 times 20, gives me a -20 divided by 2 times my a value of -2. This simplifies to -20 divided by -4, which is going to equal 5. So this 5 is my x, but we also have to know that this is also called my axis of symmetry, and it is my h value. So next, we are going to put that 5 into our y, or sometimes, or we can also call this my f of x. They're both the same thing. So everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a 5. So I get -2 times 5 squared plus 20 times 5 minus 52. So if I simplify this, 5 squared is 25. So we have a -2 times a 25 plus 20 times 5 is going to be 100. And then we go minus 52. So that becomes a -50 plus 100 minus 52. So our answer here is going to be a -2. And we need to know that this -2 is this is my max or min. In this case, it's a maximum. But this is also going to be my k value and what we call the y. So if we look at our answer choices, we know that we have a maximum at -2. So this right here. And then in vertex form, we know it is b, because this tells us that our max or min is at -2. Next, let's go ahead and go to the next type of question. We are going to see something like this, and they will ask us, what is the axis of symmetry for this graph? Another question they might ask instead of axis of symmetry is they might ask, what is our max or our minimum? We need to know how to answer both of these questions. So let's look for axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry, we know that it is what we call the x value. So we can scratch off B and C. If we didn't know anything else, we could guess, and we have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. But we're not going to do that because we know how to do math. So axis of symmetry is x. Axis of symmetry is also our h value. If we go ahead and do our math, we should know we have a formula for x. X is equal to negative b divided by 2 times a. We need to know and love this formula because we are going to see it again. So here, my b value is a negative 6. So we want to think, what is negative 1 times a negative 6? Then we divide by 2a, so that is 2 times 1. This becomes 6 over 2, which is a 3. And this happens to be D, because our x is equal to 3. This is called our axis of symmetry. But wait, what if they were like, what is our maximum and minimum? So our maximum or minimum, how we find that, that is going to be the y value. So we're going to plug that 3, going to take this 3, and we are going to plug it into that equation. So instead of x squared, we have a 3 squared. Instead of minus 6x, we have minus 6 times 3, and then our plus 1 stays the same. So that becomes 9 minus 18 plus 1. And our answer here is going to be 9 minus 18 is a negative 9 plus 1 becomes a negative 8. So they asked us this negative 8 here would be my max or min. Something else that we need to know is, what if they asked us, what is the vertex form? Because sometimes they'll ask, give me the vertex and give me axis of symmetry, or give me the vertex and give me a maximum or min. So for our vertex form, that is going to be a times x minus h squared plus k. So our a value is 1. And then our h value, h. So whenever we put anything into parentheses, we switch the signs. So instead of positive 3, we're going to have minus 3 squared. And then we're going to add the k. That is my k. So in this case, k is negative 8. So over here, we are going to have minus 8. And this is going to be vertex form. So moving on to the next question. Here, look, they gave us here and they asked us, what is our minimum value? So that minimum value is known as our y, and that is also the k. So step 1, we have to use our formula. Oh, we don't even have to use a formula. We could use a formula, but we notice that this is in standard form. And this, that's my k. So we don't have to do any math. My minimum value is a negative 13, simply because we know this value here is always going to be my k. Now let's do a what if scenario. What if they asked us for vertex? So we need to know our vertex is x comma y, or the vertex is going to be our h comma k. So we know the k value is a negative 13. And then if we look here, we should know that is our h. Anytime we have parentheses, we switch the sign. So instead of a negative 5, that is a positive 5. So my vertex is going to be 5 comma negative 13. So they could ask you this on the test. So we need to be prepared. Moving on to our next question is a word problem. There are going to be word problems. It's a lot of words. So what I like to do is I read through all of this, and then I get here and I become really happy because it is math. I have seen this. I know what to do when they give me math. So they gave us standard form. That is standard in yellow. Standard. And what they want us to do is they want us to convert to vertex. So this whole test is basically how well can you convert to vertex? When they have like highlight the maximum height, that is another way of saying what is the vertex form. So if I look at these answer choices, I see that A, this is not proper vertex form. B is not proper vertex form. So again, if I didn't know anything else, I have a 50-50 chance of getting the right answer. That is the best odds that you can have when guessing. But here, there are two ways to do this problem. There is the math way. We can do the math way and use our formula, x is equal to negative b divided by 2a, or we can do this the intelligent way. The intelligent way is we are looking at this standard form here, and we see my a is equal to negative 1/2. That's my a value. If I look at C and D, my C, this has negative 1/2 as A, so that would be right. But if I look at D, they give me an A of negative 2. My A is not negative 2. So our answer is going to be C. So there are times where you don't have to do math. You just have to understand and know what our A means and how to use standard to vertex form. And let's look at the last type of question that we're going to see on the exam. Over here, they give us a function and they ask us to translate this into vertex form. And in the answer choices, they are asking what is H and what is K. So there are problems where they will ask you for H and K, or they can ask you for just H. Sometimes they may want K by itself, or they will ask for the vertex. So those are the three different things that they will ask for. So let's go ahead and do the math. We have to use our x is equal to negative b, or that is negative 1 times our b value, divided by 2a. So my b is a negative 18. My a is 3. So if I do, what is negative 1 times a negative 18? That is 18. What is 2 times 3? That is going to be 6. And if we simplify, we get a positive 3. So right off the bat, we can cross out C and D because our H value is not negative 3. So we need to know x is equal to 3, that x is the same as our h, or it is also our axis of symmetry. Next, we have to find what is the k value. So we're going to put this into my y equation, or you can also think of that as f of x. It's both the same. So instead of 3x squared, we are going to have 3 times 3 squared. Instead of minus 18, we have minus 18 times 3. And then we add our 35. So if we put all of this into the calculator, and it is okay to use a calculator, what we are going to get is we should have a either positive or negative 8. So we enter 3 times our 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 35, and that gives us an 8 value. So make sure we know how to write these things properly into the calendar. So we need to know PEMDAS and proper calendar calculator notation. So here that y, which is equal to our 8, that is the k, and that is also our max slash min. So the answer here is going to be A. If they wanted my vertex, I would tell them is h comma k. So that is a 3 comma 8.